Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire LifeStyle podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles. You can find the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. Just look for Billionaire LifeStyle. You can also go to emmettmuckles.com. That's EMMITTMUCKLES.com. Today, I have a wonderful guest. She is the author of 12 Lessons for Becoming a Powerful Leader, Cherokee Wisdom. That's where this comes from. So you know it is absolutely powerful. I'd like you to welcome, and I'd like to welcome myself, Cynthia M. Ruiz. How are you, Cynthia?
Hello, Emmett. Hello from Los Angeles. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I haven't been in LA in about 2-3 months. And that 405 was, ooh.
Yeah, we have traffic. I'm just going to put it out there. LA has traffic. But that's the negative. But there's so many positives about LA. I love LA.
I do too, because, and I've said this on the podcast before, it's, LA is a place, well, California in general is a place where I always ground myself to the earth. Because I literally get off the plane, I go to Manhattan Beach, stick my feet in the sand just inside the water, and I sit there with my feet buried about 6 inches down.
You know what my favorite thing about Los Angeles is? The diversity. I love a city where we have so much diversity, different cultures, amazing people. It makes life much more interesting when you have diversity.
Yeah, it does. America's really struggled with that, but that's all right. I mean, it's called family. That's what you do. You struggle with family sometimes. So about your book, 12 Lessons for Becoming a Powerful Leader. Let's go to the backstory on that and find out what was the root of it. How did you come to this point of saying people need this Cherokee wisdom?
Well, Emmett, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I come from two cultures. I'm half Latina, which is, my dad was Mexican, and I say was because he's already made his transition. And then my mom is Native American Cherokee, and we're registered members of the Cherokee Nation. So I have to admit, growing up, I wasn't too happy about having two cultures because I really didn't feel I fit in anywhere. I don't speak Spanish. So I wasn't 100% accepted in the Latino world, and then I don't live on a reservation, so the native world was a little bit foreign to me. But it wasn't that until I became an adult that I really embraced these two cultures, and now what I'd like to say, I get my passion for life and love for music and dance from my Latina side, and then I get my love for the environment, my spirituality, and love for Mother Nature from my native side. So I think in today's world, our lives are so complicated. We get bombarded with so much negativity and everybody's walking around all stressed out. And what I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be that complicated. If we go back to some of the ancient wisdom, and mine happens to be Cherokee, but all different cultures have wisdom, and really keep our life simple and say, okay, as a leader, what are some of our basic things? So in the book, Cherokee Wisdom, 12 Lessons for Becoming a Powerful Leader, I share the 12 attributes of leaders that we consider important in the Cherokee Nation. And the number one, and to me, the one of the most important, is integrity. Do the right thing no matter if anybody else is looking or not, because we all know what the right thing is.
That's true. And those are universal truths that you bring forth. And you have a wealth of spirituality built into your DNA because of your Latina side and because of your Cherokee side. Do you feel the spiritual pull for you to bring these things forward?
Absolutely, I do. And I also have a spiritual practice. Each and every day, I start off my day with my gratitude list. What am I grateful for? And many times, I'm just grateful to be alive. So that starts my day and sets the tone. And then throughout the day, the other two things that are important to me is prayer and meditation. So I like to say prayer is talking to the Creator and meditation is listening. Now, I use the term creator because of my Native American roots, But I also say God, universal consciousness, universal love. It doesn't matter what term you use, but having my spirituality connects me to a power bigger than myself. I like to say that I'm spiritual, not so much religious. And of course, I don't judge anybody. Everybody has the right to choose whatever they want. But what works for me is having that direct connection with the Creator. It's made my life so amazing, and I'm so blessed in so many ways.
So with living in Los Angeles, you have a grand diversity of people to share your knowledge with. And how do I get this out? Because I have this thing about when I come to California, I know a lot of things are very much more relaxed than they are on the East Coast. So who do you feel has taken root and ownership with your knowledge that you're imparting upon them?
Well, interesting enough, because this is my second book, and the first one's more in self-help, finding sane relationships in a crazy world. This one is more leadership, so it has business applications. But I believe each and every one of us have the ability to be a powerful leader. We're leaders in our family, in our community, at work. We all have the ability to be leaders. So interesting enough, if you go to Amazon to buy my book, which I hope you do, you'll find that the book really resonates with men because it's short, sweet, and to the point. You know, it's less than 100, it's right around 100 pages. And guys like to, just tell me what I need to do. Tell me, what you want me to know, and I'm out of here. And for whatever reason, it's really resonated with guys. And I've gotten a lot of great reviews from men and women too. But anybody that wants to be a leader or improve their leadership skills, this book is for them.
So you've received over 50 accolades and awards for your leadership and service to Los Angeles.
Yeah, but who's counting, right?
But what that does is it gives other people a barometer to give you credibility that says this person is enacting things that she's walking the walk and talking the talk. And in Los Angeles in particular, because of the diversity and things like that, do you get out much more? I mean, do you get out further than Los Angeles, such as Nevada, or do you come east?
I haven't yet, but I'm completely open to that. So I have been in Los Angeles my entire life, and I was the first person in my family to go to college. I grew up from very meager beginnings, basically the inner city of Los Angeles, which was a tough way to come up because, I had choices to make. Some of my other family members didn't make good choices, and my older brother got involved in gangs and drugs. I went to college, and so I was very fortunate. By the time I was 23, I had my master's degree. So I believe that we are each the CEO of our own life, shaped by the choices that we make. So we all have choices that we can make in life. And the choices, and the good news is that every single day we can make new choices. So we all have the ability to choose the life that we want, irregardless of where we start. I'm living proof that anything is possible. So here I started, very meager beginnings, and literally, my parents divorced when I was very young, so we started on welfare. And then I fast forward years and working hard and getting the education. I was president of the Board of Public Works for the city of Los Angeles, which means I was in charge of 5,000 people.
Ooh.
So there's no roadmap for this. And so what I said, okay, how do I make these tough decisions? So what I did is I turned within and developed what I call value-driven leadership. And I believe that if I make the difficult decisions based on my core values, I'll never make a bad decision for me. And my core values come out of the Cherokee way of life and these 12 attributes that I talk about in the book.
Now, you are the embodiment for a specific demographic of Americans, and that demographic is young women. How do you see young women in today's society? Because there have been major inroads done by women in business, women, just throughout. What is your opinion on the women of today and the leadership roles that are coming to fruition for them?
Well, Emmett, I'm excited about the possibility for women because, and especially women of color, we're coming into our own. And it's interesting. Let me talk about Latinas for a minute. Latinas are, surprisingly enough, entering college faster than the men. I don't know why the Latino men are lagging, but the women are on it. They're becoming, in all walks of life, leaders. And it's interesting dynamic because if you look at the style of leadership, because I'm also a professor, I teach at the graduate level, I teach leadership and management. And if you look at the leadership style of men versus women, and, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but women tend to lead from social power. Men lead from personal power. Now, what does that mean? It means that women, when they're in leadership roles, they're more collaborative, they communicate more, and they look at the greater good of the group, where men tend to be a little bit more competitive and more personal power and just get the job done. So as you have more and more women entering the workforce and taking these leadership roles, the whole dynamic of the workplace is changing. And then you take it down to the next level with our millennials. The millennials, for me, the future looks bright for them because they have a social consciousness. And now we have new terminology, social entrepreneur. And with the millennials, when they spend their dollars, they want to make sure that the companies where they're spending their money, the corporations, have a social consciousness as well. So I'm really excited about the future for women in leadership. And again, the challenge that we're going through right now as we go through this paradigm shift, a lot of the men are struggling. So it's like, how do we find that harmony?
So in the workplace and in society today, there's a diaspora. There's a difference in the old guard, the new guard, particularly in masculine energy, with the millennials having a different take versus, the old, I call it the John Wayne mentality. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's interesting because I am really excited about the millennials. What's happening with the millennials is that they have actually really developed a social consciousness. And when they spend their dollars, and they have money, when they spend their dollars, they actually spend their dollars in places where they feel the corporations are socially responsible. And we have the whole new dynamic of social entrepreneurship. Companies like Tom Shoes, where you buy a pair of shoes and they give one to a kid that doesn't have any. So it's really exciting to watch this and see how the young people are going to have an impact on society as a whole.
And do you find that there needs to be a bridge between the two styles of millennials, and I'm not going to just say young millennials, but millennials versus the traditional guy who may be 50, 60, because there's a shift in that kind of demographic. And I've seen it myself, where I had to literally change my communication style because of people who I lead into business and things like that.
Well, it's interesting. The only way that we're going to overcome some of the differences is through communication, because the reality is we communicate differently. With the introduction of technology, the millennials rely on technology to communicate, where some of the older generations, they want to have a meeting. They want to have a telephone conversation. I recently led a workshop for Latina businesswomen, and that topic came up because a young millennial said, well, I'm so amazing and I have all these skills, but my boss doesn't understand me. And I said, well, when was the last time you had a conversation with your boss? And she looked at me like, well, I know I sent the boss an email. I said, no. I said, because when we both know when you have meetings or conversations, there's a lot more going on, the nonverbal language, other things where you can pick up on cues, because just texting, and I admit I text, it's very short, communication, but it really doesn't give you the flavor of everything. So for the two different generations to come together, we're going to start having dialogue and really talk about each other's needs and how we can find that middle ground to communicate.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good.
In my opinion, in my humble opinion.
So you do workshops. How often are you conducting workshops, or do you have them, spaced out throughout time so that people can, acclimate to them, find out about them? And is there a specific theme that you're going for or group that you're going for?
So my workshops are around two topics: leadership and life lessons. So leadership, companies hire me. I'm also an executive coach. So executives bring me in and help them develop their leadership styles and become, better leaders. So leadership, and then life lessons. What I want to do is, I've been through a lot like we all have. And if I can share some of my life lessons and make somebody else's life easier, then that's what is important to me. And that kind of goes in my first book, Finding Sane Relationships in a Crazy World. It sounds like a relationship book, but I believe the most important relationship you could have is with yourself. And when you're happy and healthy, you're going to have better relationships with other people.
Do you find that people are looking outside themselves? They're looking to be led versus choosing to be leaders because they don't feel that they have the qualities, or they're one big thing that I see is very prominent is insecurity, just self-esteem, that people don't feel that they have the wherewithal to be a leader, or they don't know how to be a leader.
Well, that's an excellent point you bring up, because what happens is that, think about it. When you're born, you're a baby, you're happy. I mean, when you need to be fed or your diaper changed, you let other people know. But for the most part, you're happy. And then we go through life and have all these different experiences. And these different experiences create emotional baggage. So we develop insecurities, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, all this stuff that we carry around that becomes very heavy. And if you don't let go of it, it's going to come out in many different ways. And that's why you see so many people getting addicted to drugs or sex or gambling or whatever it is. They're looking to fulfill something that's missing in them because they have not let go of their emotional baggage yet.
And with the 12 lessons for becoming a powerful leader, what different platforms do you offer it on? Is it hardcover, softcover, digital copy, so forth and so on?
So it's all three. So it's it's a softcover and a Kindle. And so I always try to make sure that when I write books, I want to have them very affordable. So this book's only $14.99 and the Kindle version is $4.99. But I also make sure that I give back. So a percentage of my royalties go to a program called Girls Today, Women Tomorrow. And what that is, it's a leadership mentorship program for these young Latinas living in the inner city of Los Angeles. And we expose them to different opportunities, take them on college visits. And once they're exposed, they thrive. They go to college and become leaders and successful members of society. So it's always important to me when I do any project to give a percentage back to the community.
And with your books, I see that you have books that are bilingual. Is that for your entire collection?
Just the first one came out in Spanish. I was getting a lot of people saying, we don't really have any self-help books in Spanish. And so it really resonated with the population because of the fact that so many people have, especially in the Latino community where there's a lot of guilt because of some religious overlay, that they want to know, and I didn't call out anybody in particular, but you know what I'm talking about. And so they don't know what to do with all this stuff. And Latinos are taught to take care of everybody else except for themselves. Take care of your family, take care of your husband, take care of, your neighbors. but they don't take time for themselves. And I believe, my personal opinion, to really be a good leader, you also have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And the analogy I use is when you're going on a flight and the safety briefing that they give, they say if the oxygen mask comes down and you're traveling with a small child, put it on yourself first. Because I think most of us would put it on the kid first.
Yep.
Well, you put it on yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, then you're really not going to be capable of taking care of anybody else. And this is family, work, whatever we're talking about.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that, sometimes you can't help others unless you're in a position to help them. So you have to take care of yourself first, that was an awesome point. I want to ask you about your movie career. Discover the Gift. Tell me how that came about.
So I was very blessed to be part of a project called Discover the Gift. And this was a few years back. And for self-help, the big thing was The Secret a few years ago. And they had a lot of the spiritual leaders. And so I have a friend, I live in LA, so I have a friend that's a Hollywood director. And he decided that, he's on his spiritual journey. He decided that he wanted to do his version of a sequel to that. So he brought all these amazing people together, and basically Discover the Gift is looking at your individual gifts and sharing them with the world. Everybody has gifts, and it's okay if we're all different, because we're all unique individuals. And obviously one of your gifts is being able to communicate with people. We have artists, musicians, academic people, scientists. Everybody has gifts. So it's about looking at your life, discovering your own gift, and sharing it with the world, and sharing your passions with the world. So people like the Dalai Lama were in the movie, Jack Canfield, my personal spiritual advisor, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith from the Agape International Spiritual Center. Just some really amazing people. And by the grace of God, I was in the movie too, and I didn't hit the cutting room floor or, the editing floor. I was in it. So I am just very grateful for the opportunity to really talk to people and get my message out, because at the end of the day, my message is about unconditional love and peace. And right now when we live in a world of so much hate, and I believe the only way that you could conquer the hate is through love. And so spreading that positive word of love and positivity is so important.
Now, you said a mouthful. Thank you. So let's turn over to business here. So we've talked about some kind of personal things. We've talked about your life and how you have pulled from your lineage to move forward with leadership. And a lot of people don't understand the importance of abundance in leadership. Can you share some insight with that?
Right. So it really goes down to your personal philosophy. There's different choices. I talked about choices. Some people choose to have a philosophy of lack and limitation. And they think that, they have to hold on to everything they got. I believe that we live in a world of abundance, and I believe in the law of reciprocity. What you put out is what you get back. The more you give, the more you get. And I think that the whole idea of business is changing. I think people are realizing that spirituality and business are not mutually exclusive. You can have a business that's going to thrive, and when you start giving back, you become more abundant. And so many people are getting this, and it goes back to the secret and the law of attraction. It's what you are attracting into your life. And some of the most successful businesses are the ones that get this. They take care of their employees. They take care of their customers, and they find that, their businesses are thriving.
And when you get to your subjects of leadership, because leadership is a kind of a vast, it's like a, how do I want to say it? It's like a uranium atom. It's really heavy, but it's a small, tight subject, but it has so much importance within it. And when it comes to that, how do you impart upon people the understanding of value-driven leadership?
Well, as I indicated earlier, when I make decisions based on my core values, I'll never make a bad decision for me. And the reality is that I believe leadership is not a one-size-fits-all. And the reason I believe that is because human behavior is not an exact science. Each and every one of us is different, and it's based on our experiences that we have in our life. So if every person is different, you can't have one leadership style that's going to work for everyone. So what I like to encourage people is to really look at the different leadership styles and find one that works for them. And I have to say that I change my leadership style based on the group that I'm leading. You know, I mentioned I'm a professor. I can teach the same material to a different class, and it depends on the class dynamics on how it's going to come over. So for going back to the value-driven leadership, you know, it's funny, when I was leading 5,000 people, one of my friends told me, he's like, you realize statistically that 10% of those people are not going to like you? And at first I'm like, oh my God, 500 people are not going to like me. And then I'm like, who cares? As long as I'm leading from integrity, respect, and I'm, you know, making these decisions for the greater good of the community, then I'm comfortable with that and I could sleep at night.
And with your dual ancestry, how has that affected your experience?
Well, I don't think that my ancestry has affected it. I think what's affected it more is my gender. Being a female in a male-dominated world, something like public works, which is all the city's infrastructure and sewers and buildings and working with the engineers, there was many times that I was in a meeting of, say, 30 people, and I was the only woman in the room, and I was the boss. So I think being a woman, I had to work that much harder, and I had to, you know, prepare that much more because I wanted people to respect me, and that I was there because I deserved the position, not that I was just a token woman. So I think that my ancestry is just who I am, and I'm very grateful for that. But in the workplace, I found that the bigger challenges have come from being a female in a male-dominated world.
And you talked earlier about more young ladies are going to college than young men. That's also true in the African American community. Why
do you think that is? I want to understand that. Why do you, as a man, why do you think that is?
I'm not sure, because I realize that a lot of women, and my group is very diverse, that a lot of people don't really understand, a lot of women don't understand the history or know the history, particularly in this country. They don't know about women's suffrage, because I've said it to many women. They're like, what's that? And then I began to say, hey, that's something you should make that a part of you so that you will have a great appreciation for the things that you have available today. I was like, and it's not that far. It's less than 100 years ago. But right. I just think that women are far more open to change than men are, because historically, women have been providing for the family, friends, and they adjust to change because dynamics change frequently, and they have to be strong enough, or, you know, it's just been built in to be strong. So when change comes or opportunity comes, they look at it as a plus.
But I think it's a sad state of our society when you have so many well, the good news is that you have a lot of young women of color going to college, but then you have the young men of color going to prison. It's like, what's wrong with that picture?
Well, that's a whole different topic. I can talk about that for hours, from experience, because you have to be strategic if you are a certain genetic type in this country. You have to be very careful in your path, which means your journey, but your barometer for which you are judged by is different. And as many as people would like to say that it is not, you have to walk a mile in someone's shoes before you fully understand. Just the same thing. I can't really understand what it's like for your journey as a woman. I can't fully relate to it. I can have empathy in conversations, but until you really sit down or someone in your life is connected from that avenue, it's hard for the American public to understand that. But here's the awesome thing about the human condition. We always venture forward. I mean, we venture forward. Our hearts are filled with love and prosperity, even in the down times, and we just simply move forward.
Right. And one of the things that I talk about in the book, in terms of the attributes of leadership, the 12 lessons, is respect. And I think if we had more respect in the world, because to me, what respect means is that everybody does have their own individual journey, and I respect you enough to allow you to live your journey the way you want to without me judging you or trying to impose my ideas on you. And the respect is a two-way street. I hope that you respect my way of life and my opinions without necessarily having to agree with them.
That comes into being with mental strength. How do you, and this is probably some of the principles that you list out, mental strength, having integrity. How do you, because that's not in the diaspora of conversation. No one says you got to have mental strength. They just say you have to be strong.
Right.
But that can be different things. You can be spiritually strong. You can be physically strong, but no one says mental, just dive down it or have a path for you to learn that. And how do you, push that forward to people?
Well, for me, mental strength means a lot of things. It means keep going. I know what my dreams are, and I follow my dreams, no matter what. But, what it also means to me about mental strength is overcoming some of the emotions that are stopping me. We talked about fear. Fear is a strong, powerful emotion, and fear can manifest itself in a lot of different ways. There's fear of failure, but there's also fear of success. There's a fear of not being accepted or liked. I mean, fear goes on and on and on. So when you're mentally strong, it's really saying, okay, let me look at this fear, because fear is normal if you're in a situation where you're physically in danger. But most of the fear that we have in our lives is all in our head. So, being mentally strong is saying, okay, this is in my head. It's not a reality. So let me just walk through this fear and keep going in the direction of my dreams.
You sound like my favorite author is Og Mandino for me to be inspired. Also, Paulo Coelho is also like 1 and 2 right there. And it sounds like your book is going to be that number. I hate to say it, but I can't give those two up. Is right there with them. So give me all the.
So Emmett, are you saying I'm number 3? Is that what I heard?
Did you? You didn't actually hear me say it. See, that's part of communication.
That's why I clarified it.
Where can people find the book in all its forms?
Amazon.com. Really simple. Just go to Amazon.com. And you can type in my name, Cynthia, Ruiz, Ruiz. And I come up. And I also love people. I love to connect with people. And I love people to join my tribe. And you can do that by visiting my website, Cynthia, CYNTHIA, MRUIZ.com. I have blog posts. And I have information about my leadership training. I have photo gallery. Guys always, the first thing, I don't know, when guys go to my website, it's so funny because the first thing they do is go to the photo gallery and look at the pictures.
Of course. We're guys. What do you expect?
And I have to say, I live in LA, so I have some pictures of some pretty impressive people.
Well, you just made a really important point. And most people, I hate to say this, women understand this, but they understand it benignly. And I'm not trying to be sexist, but I'm just telling you from what we are. We are visual creatures.
And that's okay.
We're like, we got to see it first.
And women are emotional creatures. And that's okay too. Because the reality is, like back in the day when Dr. Gray said men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And it's true. But you know what? We need each other to balance. You need the masculine and feminine. And to my humble opinion, women need to realize that men are different and men need to realize women are different, and no judgment. It's okay. We're just different. And then come together and enjoy the time that we spend together.
I'm going to diverge a little bit here because you just made me think of something. Because you work with so many people, do you see that there's a meshing or a melding of the masculine and feminine energy where there's a confusion in people?
So, the reality is that everybody has masculine and feminine energy. It's just that some people are more in touch. There are men that we all know that might be in touch with their feminine side. And we see that are artists, musicians, and just like women, we have athletes that are in touch with their masculine side. So we all have both. And that's the beauty of it. But it doesn't just stop at sex. It's, race too, because we all have different cultures, and it's really just about embracing who we are as an individual and being happy as who we are and respecting others and not judging them.
That is absolutely true.
In my humble opinion.
In your humble opinion. When I come to LA, I am going to give you a holler.
Yay!
And then maybe we can do some video. So we know that we can go to Amazon. We can go to your website. Now, what about Facebook? Do you have forums and groups on Facebook?
Well, I am all over social media, but it's as an individual. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. My son got me on Snapchat. I do it all. But if people want to connect with me on Facebook, just look for Cynthia M. Ruiz. There's a lot of us, so type City of LA and I come up. And I have, I think I'm maxed out on friends, but I have an additional probably 1,000 people that follow me as well. But I love to connect. I love to share positive things. And I just love people.
So what about YouTube?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I have a YouTube channel. So you're good. I have a YouTube channel. You can check out some of my videos. I've done interviews with different amazing people. And so, yeah, I'm all over the place.
And are you a tweeter?
I am. But I don't tweet at 3:00 in the morning like some people.
Well, sometimes people don't drink enough water and they have to, they wake up and they have to tweet. They have to do something.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. So I'm all over social media, which has actually been a great way to connect with people from all over the world.
It is. It is absolutely true. It is absolutely true.
And when we connect with people from all over the world, what we really see at the end of the day is that we all want the same thing. We all want to be happy. We all want to be healthy, be loved, and be there for our family and, make sure that our family is successful, whatever that means to them.
Okay. So let's close our eyes, or let you close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you this question because you need to do a visualization. You probably already have it. In the next 12 months, what's in store?
Good things for 2017. I see myself doing more public speaking. I see myself doing more workshops. and connecting with amazing people from all over the world.
Now, that is a good premonition. Now, make sure that...
And I'm going to call you in a year and say, see, it all came true.
No, you're going to call me before that, because whenever you... And I'm serious, because whenever you have something that you are that you need promotion on, or something that you're involved with, please include me, whether it be Twitter or email. Say, hey, Emmett, just drop me a line. Say, hey, on this date, I'll be doing this, 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 and this, because you never know. Some 6'1" guy that looks like he might be a cop with a Michigan baseball hat on will come walking through the door.
Well, like I said, I love your energy, and anybody that has a title of a show with billionaire in it, I know you got it going on.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you for being a part of the Billionaire Lifestyle show. I always end the show with a statement, and it's not really a statement. I'm just talking to someone. And what I want to say is, I have a deep love for everyone. I may not like you, because you may do something, but I'm going to tell you something. If at any time in your life you're feeling lonely, you're not feeling right, I need you to just do one thing. I need you to walk over to a mirror, and I need you to stare at your own eyes, because you are an absolute miracle. You don't compare yourself to anyone else, because you're a specific star in the universe, and you have to treat yourself that way. You have to own it and know that you are a 1 in a billion chance at life that made it, that succeeded. So with that, know that you are a billionaire. It is not about money. It is about abundance of living. So if you haven't, start now. Start living to your maximum. If you're having a moment, if you're hanging on a rope, here's a simple statement. Tie a knot in the rope and just hang there for a minute. Then you'll be able to pull yourself up. Thank you, Cynthia, for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle podcast.
The pleasure's mine.
And with that, everyone, peaceful journeys.